80 years ago today, the U.S. dropped the first atomic bomb on the Japanese city of Hiroshima. 3 days later, a second bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. They effectively brought World War II in the Pacific to an end, and at the time, President Truman had been in office only 4 months before making a decision that would change the course of history.
And that choice and its consequences are still debated today. KMBC 9 News photojournalist Mark Lee visited the Harry S. Truman Presidential Library and Museum, where experts walk us through Truman's decision and the historical context behind it.
Let there be no mistake. We shall completely destroy Japan's power to make war.
Yeah, August 6th was the day that the first atomic bomb was dropped on Japan, on Hiroshima, 80 years ago. Truman had made that decision, and that's the anniversary date of the first atomic bomb in world history.
That brings it home to him.
He'd only become president in April, just a few months prior to August, and he had various committees giving him different recommendations. For Truman, his goal was to end the war as quickly as possible and to bring American soldiers home and to have as few American casualties as possible. So the bomb really helped him achieve those goals.
I have received this afternoon a message from the Japanese government which specifies the unconditional surrender of Japan.
The documents of surrender.
We've got some very key artifacts here on display related to the atomic bomb. So we're in the business of storytelling and telling the history of the Truman era, and this is one of the most significant stories that we tell about the decision to use the atomic bomb.
Is a remarkable thing that I think the quieting effect of this terribly dangerous weapon has had on the idea of an all-out total war.
Well, certainly it changed the world, right? I mean, it's one of the most impactful decisions of the 20th century, maybe of all time. Certainly one of the most important decisions an American president has ever made. I think in the end of the 20th century, some of the national magazines looked at the most important decisions of the century, and that was right up there in the top 5 of one of those most important decisions.
It was to spare the Japanese people from utter destruction.
So it's certainly important that we remember it. There are different opinions about it. It's certainly controversial. We're here just to relay the history of what happened and look at what Truman did and why he did it. But people can make up their own mind of whether they agreed or disagreed with that.
The Harry S. Truman Library and Museum has treasure troves from Truman's life and time in office. Next week, they'll have New York Times bestselling author Evan Thomas to talk about his book, Road to Surrender: 3 Men and the Countdown to the End of World War II. You can sign up for that event online. Just head to the museum's website for more information.